Welcome back to the 3CIR podcast, Legends. I'm Joel Slate-Cairns, and whether you're listening on a commute, knocking out a session at the gym, or catching a breather between shifts, you're in good company. We're two ex-military blokes who swapped boots for laptops, but we didn't leave our values behind.
Not a chance. I'm Ryan Jury Delaney, and this show is all about turning experience into momentum. If you're new here, 3CIR was founded by proud Australian Defence Force veterans with a simple promise: courage, commitment, camaraderie, integrity, respect. Those aren't just words on a wall, they're how we work, who we serve, and why we get out of bed.
Exactly. We help people transition, military, emergency services, and civilians, through recognition of prior learning, online qualifications, and the kind of straight talk that cuts through. If you've stacked skills in the field but don't have the certificate yet, this is your house.
Pull up a chair and a cuppa. Today we're diving into something that sits at the core of a lot of career leaps: business management courses. And before you think textbook and yawns, hang tight. We're talking practical planning, real delegation, making the most of your time when you're a one-person operation, and stepping into leadership in industries that actually move.
Backbone work. If your workplace is a ship, management courses help you navigate, steer, and fix the engines while keeping morale high. Sounds like a stretch till you're the one juggling rosters, budgets, and a cranky printer.
The printer's always cranky, mate, but seriously, we'll break down what you can learn from leadership skills to business admin pathways like Certificate 2 and 3, and then up to Certificate 4 in business administration for folks eyeing management. We'll talk small business, we'll talk getting qualified faster with RPL, and we'll point you to tools and videos so you can check the vibe before you enroll.
And I want to challenge a couple of myths too, like this idea that management is only for people who love spreadsheets. If you can coordinate a shift change at 3 a.m. or keep a crew safe in a high-stress environment, you already have management bones. The courses just add muscle.
All right, let's rip in. First theme, leadership skills through business management. Leadership isn't shouting orders, it's perception, decision-making, and follow-through when the picture's fuzzy. These courses give you the admin principles and the modern market context you need to be credible in the civilian world.
Picture this. You're a team lead in a warehouse or a supervisor at a security firm. You know operations cold. But suddenly you're asked to sit in on planning for next quarter, and the conversation goes to market shifts, service level agreements, stakeholder expectations, and KPIs. Management training translates your instinct into the civilian dialect: budget basics, risk and compliance, people engagement, change management. You go from "I can handle a busy night" to "I can shape policy for the next year."
And that's the shift from authority to influence. In uniform, rank carries weight. In business, influence comes from clarity, confidence, and being able to read the room, then back it with data. Leadership modules inside business management courses teach exactly that: how to coach, how to run effective meetings, and how to position your team, not just boss them. You know what I mean?
Right, and there's a bit in there about decision cycles too. We used to call it OODA: observe, orient, decide, act. Business has its own version. You learn to gather intel, sales reports, customer feedback, competitor moves, orient to what matters, decide with your team, and act quickly. That's leadership in modern market scenarios, not just theories.
Which neatly tees up the next piece: business administration, the solid ground that leadership stands on. If you're brand new to office life, Certificate 2 in business can be a great entry. Think clerical work, admin assistant roles, answering queries, filing, basic data entry, making sure the machine runs smoothly. It's the front line of every office you've ever seen.
And don't underestimate it. The best tactical moves come off a clean admin base. Certificate 2 in business sets those habits: understanding professional communication, basic digital tools, time management. I've watched medics, chippies, and artillery techs all slide into admin through a Cert 2, and suddenly they're the one everyone relies on, because the inbox is under control and the calendars make sense.
Then you level up with Certificate the Third in business. This is where you move from helping to owning processes. You start handling reception with confidence, managing more complex records, maybe running small projects or coordinating events. A clerk who actually knows where everything is, priceless. A receptionist who can triage chaos. You're already leading even without the title.
And let's be honest, that next level tag on Cert the 3 is real. You get deeper into Microsoft Office, customer service strategy, workplace documentation, maybe even dips into WHS responsibilities. You become the person who doesn't just do tasks. You set the bar for how tasks should be done. That's a quick way to get noticed by a manager and tapped for more responsibility.
For those running or dreaming of a small business, this is where your ears should perk up. Some business management courses are built specifically for small operations. If you want to open a small shop, run a tradie outfit, or handle a couple of commercial units, learning how to plan cost, market, and manage in a constrained environment is everything.
Certificate IV in Business Administration is the sweet spot for prospective managers and administrators. Real talk. It pushes you into business planning, organizing meetings that actually produce outcomes, building management information systems, MIS for short, preparing financial reports, and embedding sustainable workplace practices. That's a full toolkit.
The MIS sounds fancy, but it's basically setting up the information you need to run the business in a way that's timely and useful. Dashboards, reporting structures, what data matters and why. It's not just spreadsheets, it's the story of your operations in numbers. You get that right, and suddenly marketing, staffing, and customer service decisions become straight lines instead of guesswork.
Exactly. And when we say financial reports, we're not trying to turn you into a CFO overnight. We're giving you the CFO in a backpack basics. Profit and loss, cash flow, budgets. If you've ever run a team with limited resources, you already know the principle. Make a little go a long way and justify your spend. Cert 4 puts the formal language and tools around it.
The sustainability piece is big too, not just eco-consciousness, though that matters, but sustainable workplace practices, how you design processes that don't burn people out, how you manage risk without stifling initiative, how you build systems that stand up when you're not in the room. That's mature management.
Now, I can hear someone saying, I've been doing half this stuff for years, just not in office clothes. And that's where RPL, recognition of prior learning, comes in. 3CIR's bread and butter. If you've been handling admin on deployments, leading a team at a station, or running events for community groups, those skills are evidence. You might be closer to a qualification than you think.
The way RPL works is straightforward. You map your real experience to the units in a qualification. Provide evidence, logbooks, position descriptions, references, photos of work, even videos, and an assessor evaluates it. If you meet the outcomes, you get the unit ticked off without sitting through stuff you can already do in your sleep.
Right, and it can cut months off the timeline. We've seen folks jump from unsure to qualified in weeks because they had a pile of skill just waiting to be recognized. And the best part, this isn't a shortcut. It's using the path you already walked.
If you're unsure where you sit, 3CIR has a free RPL assessment form, 2 cups of coffee, a little honesty, and you'll have a pretty clear picture of what gaps remain, if any. And if there are gaps, that's where online units come in. Targeted, flexible, same outcome, less fluff.
Let's swing back to the idea of leadership development inside business management. These courses aren't about building a bossy voice. They're about building a clear one. They teach you how to prioritize under pressure, how to delegate, which, by the way, is not dumping tasks but empowering people, and how to use meetings as a tool, not a time sink.
Can we talk about meetings for a second? A good meeting has a plan, a facilitator, and a close. Agenda, someone steering, clear next steps. CertOV drills that in. You learn to run meetings like missions, objective, roles, comms, debrief. Cut the waffle, keep the momentum. When a team sees that week after week, culture lifts.
And that feeds into career advancement. Business management courses are designed to align with today's market. That means when you finish, the skills are not just theoretical, they're immediately useful. And because the content gets updated as industries shift, your qualification doesn't start its life already stale.
One of our favorite things about 3CIR's approach is the mix and match mindset. If you're after practical traction, you can start small, Cert 2 or 3, get some runs on the board, then stack up to Cert 4. If your experience is strong, you might go straight for RPL at a higher level. There's no ego in this. It's about fit and momentum.
And if you want a taste test before committing, check out 3CIR's video library. There are short, punchy explainers and insights across leadership, human resources, WHS, security, business, marketing, government, project management, plenty to browse. Pop one on while you're cooking dinner and you'll probably pause mid-stir to take notes.
Those videos also give you a feel for the difference between functions. HR's more about people systems and culture. WHS is safety leadership and compliance. Security's operational risk and posture. Project management is planning, scope, time, and cost. All of that ties beautifully into business management. You don't need to pick a silo today, but it's nice to know where the paths can branch.
I want to hit a real-world story. A mate left the Navy, strong logistics background. He thought, I'm just going to be the new guy again. We lined him up with RPL. He picked up a Cert 3 in Business Fast because his admin experience was massive, then topped up to a Cert I4 with a couple targeted units. Within 6 months, he was coordinating operations at a supply company. He didn't change who he was, he changed how his experience was recognized.
Same with a friend from the fire service. Fantastic at team dynamics under pressure. She took leadership components through business management, got a handle on MIS and financial basics, and suddenly she's running a community training organization, loved the mission, got better tools, and the market understood her value because it came with a qualification attached.
And that's the heart of it. Business management isn't a personality transplant, it's a translation. It turns what you're good at, planning, controlling moving parts, delegating effectively, into credentials that read in civilians.
Let's talk small business again, because there's a lot of you eyeing that. If you've got an idea, coffee cart, landscaping, cloud services, security consulting, you'll face the same first 30 days problem. How do I set up systems? How do I track money? How do I present to clients? That's where the coursework shines.
Cert 4 in Business Administration teaches you to build your operating rhythm, weekly planning, meeting cadence, reporting cycles, compliance touches. You might be solo, but you'll feel like you've hired your future operations manager because your process is tight. The difference between chaos and calm is usually a calendar and a checklist that someone actually respects. In this case, You'll
also get exposure to sustainable practices, little things that add up, document control so you aren't searching for file names at midnight, versioning so you don't present outdated info to clients, simple eco-friendly choices that save you money and time, and a rhythm for continuous improvement. If that sounds like a military debrief culture in sneakers, it kind of is.
Quick aside on delegation. Even if you're solo, you can delegate to systems. Calendar reminders, automations, templates. Then, when you do bring on a junior or a contractor, your handover is clear. Cert IV pushes you to codify your work. That's the secret sauce of scaling without face planting.
Now, maybe you're thinking, I don't want to get locked into one lane. Good. Business management is broad by design. It gives you a platform to pivot. After a year in admin, you might fall in love with HR or project management, or you might see a leadership pathway opening and step into a coordinator or team leader role. Move your career like chess, not checkers.
Let's call out the admin versus leadership spectrum. Admin gets you inside the system, leadership lets you shape it. Certificate W2 and 3 put you in the room. Cert IV starts giving you a seat at the table because you're showing competency in planning and reporting. Layer in RPL and your field experience becomes part of that narrative. Suddenly, you're not just present, you're participating.
Also, don't underestimate how much employers respect someone who's intentional. When you can say, I chose Cert 3 to sharpen customer engagement and document control, then I pushed for Cert I4 to own meetings and reporting, it signals you're not drifting, you're driving. And employers like drivers.
We've been talking structure, but let's touch heart for a second. 3CIR was built by veterans to help our people cross that bridge to civilian life, and we've seen hundreds of stories where a single qualification unlocked confidence that was already earned, just hidden. If you're listening and you think, yeah, but not me, I've been out a while, or I'm not office material, trust me, there's a version of this pathway with your name on it.
Yeah, and for our emergency services listeners, the tempo you keep in paramedicine, fire, police, that's project management with stakes. Translating that into business admin and leadership is like changing the uniform, not the mission. You already know triage, resource allocation, after action reviews. Now you get a certificate that says the market can count on that.
Let's throw a few quick tips for anyone considering a start. 1. Reflect on your evidence. Think about roles where you coordinated anything: shifts, rosters, equipment, training. That's admin leadership. 2. Check the 3CIR site for the course outlines for Certificate 2, Certificate 3, and Certificate Y4 in Business Administration. Look for terms that match your daily work. 3. Try the RPL assessment. Worst case, you discover your gaps. Best case, you skip ahead.
And 4. Use the 3CIR videos as a preview. Pop into the leadership series to see how managers think across industries. Jump into HR to understand compliance and culture, WHS, if safety is your jam or your responsibility. Security if you want to keep your protective services edge. Business and marketing to understand customers and positioning. Government if you're dealing with public sector processes. Project management when you want to sharpen planning. It's like a buffet. You can taste everything before ordering a plate.
Let's talk about career durability. Business changes, tools change, but the underlying skills, communicating clearly, running a meeting, building reports, planning ahead, those outlast platforms. You might start in a small retail admin role and end up running ops for a national franchise. Or you might go the other way, corporate to small business owner, taking that structure with you.
And the confidence piece is no small thing. When you've got a plan for your day, your week, your quarter, stress drops. You're not guessing, you're executing. You can bring that military calm, that emergency services composure into the boardroom or the back office. People feel it. They follow it.
Another myth to crack, you don't need to be a math genius for financial reporting. You need a clear process and a basic literacy. Once you learn to read a P&L, to track cash flow, to see where expenses creep, it's empowering. You make better calls because you can see the picture, not just feel it.
And if you're not a numbers person yet, that's fine. The coursework meets you where you are. It teaches you the why before the how. Why cash flow matters more than profit on paper. Why timing matters with invoicing. Why budgets aren't cages, they're guardrails. You'll be surprised how quickly it clicks when it's real, not hypothetical.
Now, if you're already nodding, thinking, I want to move, what does timeline look like? Here's a rough sketch. RPL assessment first. If you're heavy on experience, you might get a big chunk of Cert 3 or IV recognized. Then you plan a short run of gap units, maybe a few weeks of online study per unit done around your life. You build a plan with a 3CR advisor and stick to it. Realistic, not heroic.
And celebrate small wins. Nab your Cert 3? Great. Update the resume and LinkedIn, let your network know. Ask for stretch tasks at work, then aim the Cert fee and start taking on meeting ownership or reporting responsibilities. It's career compounding, small, smart steps that pay out over time.
I want to loop back to leadership training and business management for one more angle, ethics and culture. Integrity and respect are hardwired into 3CIR for a reason. Courses don't just teach tasks. They teach how to hold a standard, how to create safe workplaces, how to balance outcomes with care. That's the kind of leadership people remember.
Camaraderie doesn't vanish outside the wire either. In business, camaraderie is team trust. It's having your colleagues back when they're learning, sharing your templates, not gatekeeping. Management training shows you how to build that culture intentionally. Induction processes, feedback cycles, recognition rhythms. It's the difference between a team and a collection of individuals.
So, if we boil today down, business management courses are the backbone for any business because they teach planning, control, and delegations in a way that scales from a sole trader to a national team. Certificate 2 Circa 2 is your gateway, Certificate 3 is your momentum, and Certificate C4 is your managerial springboard, complete with planning, meetings, MIS, financial reports, and sustainable practices. Layer in RPL to fast track based on experience, and you've got a pathway that respects where you've been and accelerates where you're going.
And 3CIR is built to help you do it without feeling like you're starting from scratch. We get the transition. We've made it ourselves. We know what it's like to look at your skill set and think, how do I explain this? That's our lane. We speak both languages.
If you're ready to move, hit the 3CIR site, check the course pages, send an inquiry, and watch a couple of those videos to warm up. If you're on the fence, try the free RPL assessment. And if you've got questions, bring them. This is a conversation, not a sales pitch.
Before we roll, quick lightning round. Slate, favorite underrated skill you learn in business management?
Clear meeting minutes. Sounds dull, saves careers, captures decisions, assigns actions, and stops the blame game before it starts.
Mine's template thinking. Do a job twice, template it. That discipline turns you into the most reliable person in the room.
One more. Delegation with intent. Not you do this, but I'm trusting you with this outcome. Here's the context. It's amazing what people do with trust.
All right, that's a wrap for today's deep dive into business management courses. Next episode, we're going even deeper. Real case studies, how to choose between Cert 2, the 3 and RV based on your goals, and a peek at how a small business owner can use MIS like a pro without drowning in data.
We'll also break down a day in the life for someone stepping from frontline into admin leadership, so you can picture the rhythm. No suits required, just solid systems.
If that sounds like your next move, stick around, and if you know someone who needs to hear this, mate, sibling, colleague, send it their way. That's camaraderie in actions.
Keep your edge, keep your integrity, and keep moving forward. We'll catch you next time with Business Management Courses, Part 2.